Shalom, shalom. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakak Kwadash. Yahweh is the Most High God, and Yahweh Shai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ. The Rakak Kwadash is the Holy Spirit in the Paleo-Hebrew. And I want to give double honors to the elders of Great Millstone who rule well through the Spirit, teaching His word and believing in His word. Lord willing, they can continue to endure and be sincere. And a mighty shalom to the hopeful elect that are scattered four corners of the earth, teaching His word and believing in His word. Lord willing, they can continue to endure and be sincere. Shalom to the Akwathiyam that are believers of the faith. Lord willing, they can continue to pursue their lot, which is being a loving and silent and virtuous wife. And Lord willing, the Most High have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the faith, right? Today's lesson is really going to be, a correction, but really going into the doctrine of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, which multiple camps, especially IUIC, and there's other camps, other individuals that are so-called Israelites, and they use Deuteronomy 23:7, right? So you got to know that it's a what is it called? A clerical error. A clerical error, right? With the word and the name of Edomites in Deuteronomy 23:7. It's a clerical error, right? Edomite in the Hebrew, which we see right on the screen, is Adamaya, right? Adamaya. But then Adawamya, right? So let's go into the definition of clerical error, right? Of course, I Google searched it. You can go to the homologyonline.com and you can get the meaning of clerical, right? But clerical error is a minor mistake that occurs when writing or copying something down, such as a typo or a misspell. It can also refer to a computer malfunction or data entry error. Clerical errors can be corrected at any time, even after a judgment has been made. This is because they are minor mistakes that do not affect the outcome of a case. For example, a court can correct a clerical error in a court document without having to reschedule a hearing. Now, some of the examples, right? Some of the examples of clerical error include spelling mistakes, right? Math mistakes, mixing up party names. That's the main point I want to stick to. You even got the prologues of Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, where you see he said, they missed a few words because they were translating them from, the ancient Hebrew and multiple other languages to bring it into English. So some words, we would have to go back and look at the Strongs, the concordance, the etymology of the word or the root of the word to find out what it goes into, like Revelations, the 13th chapter, 16, 17, the M-A-R-K, that goes into charagma. Revelations 14:11, the M-A-R-K, that is a charagma, which is a physical mark. But then you go in the Old Testament to Ezekiel 9:4, M-A-R-K, and it's not the same. It's not a charagma, right? I believe it's 12, and if I'm wrong, I know the brother Asher, he can correct that, right? But I think it's T-A-W-V or is it T-A-V? One of the two. You can look it up, Ezekiel, the 9th chapter, verse 4, right? But the point is this one right here where it says mixing up party names, right? So now let's go to the verse. It's Deuteronomy 23, verse 7. It says, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. Now, I'm going to try to just make this quick, straight to the point. We're going to go to this word, Edomite, Edomite, right? But then we can go down when we go to the Strong's definition. But even when you go to the Strong's translation down here where I highlighted, you see Edomites and then you see Syria. Okay, something is giving us a clue. So we go to the Strong's definition. Right here is telling us to go see H726. So I'm going to click it. And now it's going to Arami. Let me play it.
Strong's H726. Aromim. And the form just below that, Adomi
or Aromim, right? The root word etymology say a clerical error for H130. When we go to the outline biblical usage, it says Edomite or Syrian, right? Down here, Syrian, right? And it says Eromim, a clerical error for H130. In Edomite as in the merging Syrian, right? So it's saying that this is a clerical error for H130. And we just read some examples of a clerical error would be mixing up parties' names, right? So this is an identity that was a mistake, right? A clerical error. And it shows that, clerical errors is a minor mistake that occurs when writing or copying something down, right? Such as a typo or misspell, especially if you're translating it from other language to other language to other languages, right? So now when we click that H130, see where it takes us. It brings us back to Deuteronomy 23. Let's hear it.
Strong's H130. Adomi.
So it
and
just
the form
shows us Edom.
Just below that, Edom.
Right? So it says Edomim, right? So it's already showing us that this is a clerical error in this verse. Plain and simple. And of course, that would go against the scriptures if we see David saying he has a perpetual hatred, a perfect hatred for him, and then the Lord said he loves Jacob but he hated Esau, right? And hate, it just means a dislike, right? A perpetual hatred is a perfect hatred, right? Let alone you got Sirach, the 51st chapter, I believe, where the Lord said it's 3 things he detests, right? Because when you go into Deuteronomy 23:7, even in another translation, NLT, it says do not detest the Edomites, right? But it's talking about Syrian, right? Because you can go to Sirach, I believe the 51st, let's see if I can get to it. I believe it's Sirach 51. Let me see. If it's not 51. Let's see, it could be, is it 50? Yes. This is Sirach chapter 50, verse 25. There be 2 manner of nations which my heart abhorreth. In the third is no nation. They that sit upon the mountain of Samaria, and they that dwell among the Philistines, and that foolish people that dwell in Shechem. Right? So even when you go into the GNT, the Good News Translation, when we read verse 25, it says, there are two nations that I detest, right? And a third that does not even deserve to be called a nation. These are the Edomites, the inhabitants of the Philistine city, and the stupid Samaritans, right? So even when we go back to the Deuteronomy 23:7, right, you have to know Assyrian is close to kin, but not technically. It's really, when you look at a lot of our foreign fathers, right, they had relatives, and Rebecca, right, she was, her family reside in the area where Assyrians would be, right? You had Laban, right, which is her brother, I believe, right? And in some cases where you would look up, it would say Assyrian, but nah, they were a part of the bloodline, But, just sticking to the point, Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 7, this is a clerical error, right? And if you actually do your due diligence and study, you'll be able to fix it. Now, to know why, you got to know these words was already written. But of course, even in history, like if I can look at Ephesians, the 6th chapter, verse 12, we wrestled not against blood and flesh. It was, actually, let me show you. Because back then in the Geneva book, they had governors written in this verse, right? It says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against rulers of the darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness in high places. In the Geneva, it will really say against powers and against the governors of the darkness of this world, right? Because it was given it straight clear. But then, these high rulers or people in high position, either some of these Gentiles, they got upset about it. And, King James removed certain books, especially the Apocrypha, out of the Geneva, because the Geneva had the Apocrypha too. But certain words was like too clear or too harsh to handle. That's why when you see in the KJV writing, especially the 1611, the words is different. The thou, thy, the words is different. Even though it say it in the regular King James 1769, that goes all the way until, like, you got to know a lot of language grew over the time, So you got to know that the scholars, I don't know if I can, let me see if I can get this. Let me read this article and then we'll close. Right? King James Version, when Elizabeth died in 1603, the crown passed to James I, who had been king of Scotland for 37 years. As James VI, several months after he ascended the throne of England, he authorized a new translation of the Bible to replace the bishop's Bible. 47 of the best Hebrews and Greek scholars of the day were divided into 6 groups, 3 for the OT, which is the Old Testament, 2 for the New Testament, and 1 for the Apocrypha. 2 of the groups met at Oxford, and 2 at Cambridge, and 2 at Westminster. When a group had completed its task, its work was submitted to 12 men, 2 from each panel. Final differences of opinion were settled at a general meeting of the company. In case of special difficulties, learned men outside the board of revisers were consulted. Marginal notes were used only to explain Hebrew and Greek words to draw attention to parallel passages, right? Italics were used for words not found in the original but necessary to complete the sense, right? That just shows how the 1611 came about. But you even have to know, even in this time, the Renaissance, the rebirth of Rome was growing, especially when you look at the crime family of the Borgia family, right? The images of Hamashiach Yahushai and the prophets, really the judges of, of the scriptures, was changed to the likeness of the heathen, especially when you go all the way back even to the Greek time. And you got other times too where they upgraded it, right? But when you go to, First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 45, you can see that they changed. And when you go to, it's a precept in Job, where it goes into forgers, right? And that's what, the wicked, really Esau, he became he was forging certain things in the word for his own likeness. Even when you go into slavery, making a Hebrew book and taking certain scriptures and books out and making the slaves only teach things that's beneficial for the slave masters, right? But really was taking them out of pocket and wasn't really giving a sense. But that just comes with the curse and the punishment, the consequences for our behavior, So again, when you see Deuteronomy, this is not about emotions and feelings. This is about, doing a deep dive and being guided. I did my own research. Actually, I'll even go to a website that I came across too, and then I'll close after this. Right? This is the virtual Yeshiva discussion forum. Right? Was Deuteronomy 23:7 mistranslated? Right? So it says, does Deuteronomy 23:7 actually refers to Arameans rather than Edomites? Deuteronomy 23 verse 7 to 8 in the NET, you must not hate an Edomite, for he is your relative. You must not hate the Egyptian, for you were a foreigner in his land. Children of the third generation born to them may enter the assembly of the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. No other tribe of people is the object of so much condemnation. This right here is a beautiful link about the history of Edom. So it is a natural to wonder why Edomites would never be allowed to enter the congregation of Yahweh. Here we finally have confirmation from the NET source that the Edomites were sometimes confused with the Arameans or the Aramites in the Old Testament Hebrew Herodian script, thus giving much credibility to the idea that Deuteronomy 23 verse 7 refers to Arameans rather than Edomites, right? We can keep on going on that, but yeah, hey, when we just go into this blue letter and we click the word Edomite, didn't do no cheat code, read what we had to read on here, we seen that one hit of Syria, and then it says CH726, and we get the notion of a clerical error for H130, which is saying basically Edomite, right? But it should be saying it should be saying Adamaya, right? And when you go back to the biblical usage, Aramite, Assyrian, right? And a clerical error for H130 and Edomite, as in the merging Syrian, right? And we've seen in the other article that even in old times, some Assyrians was considered Edomites, or Edomites was considered Assyrian, but you have to know you are the seed of your father, right? So with that, Lord willing, you was edified, and we went straight to the point. So now you know as a correction, and now we can teach it correctly. With that, shalom, all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. Lord willing, you can continue to endure and be sincere, talking to the hopeful elect. And a mighty shalom, double honors to the elders of Great Millstone who will well through the Spirit, teaching His word and believing His word. Lord willing, you can continue to endure and be sincere. And with that, shalom, shalom.